Welcome. Today, Eljo Haspels and Mignon Marseille discuss how a strong partnership with Manifera helped amplify the impact of CFLW cyber strategies.
Welcome to the podcast of Manifera. Today we are having a conversation with Eljo from CFLW. Welcome.
Thank you.
Eljo, could you tell a bit about yourself, please?
Yes, Eljo Haspels. I'm Technology Director at CFLW for almost 3 years now. And that means that I'm responsible for our technology strategy, the development team, and some internal research.
Okay, thank you. Clear. And can you tell us a bit about CFLW?
Yes, CFLW is a global cyber intelligence provider situated here in The Hague. And what we do is we deliver software for law enforcement and cybersecurity professionals, mainly based on open source intelligence. One of our main products is the dark web monitor, but we also have a product with regard to phishing detection. We do that on a global scale, so we have customers all around the world. That's us.
Yes. And how important is software for CFLW?
Really important. We started out as a spin-out from TNO, where a research idea or proof of concept was made, but we saw the bridge that the gap that needed to be bridged from proof of concept to operational technology. And what we did is we built a company, a SaaS company. So we deliver our software as a service to our end users, which means that they can just log in and use the product without needing to care about any of the underlying technology. That's what we take care of, but that means that software is really important to us. Of course, it's not the only thing. Really high quality data is important. Trust is really important. But yeah, software is the main component of our company.
Okay, thank you for sharing. How did CFLW get to know Herre and Manifera?
That was already almost 9 years ago when Mark, the founder of CFLW, lived in Singapore. He was there for TNO, and I think it was at a New Year's event at the embassy. He met Herre, where they got into a conversation, and he learned about the fact that Herre has a Manifera, a software development company. And at that time, there was an idea that needed to be brought into software. So it started off with a really small project where Manifera delivered in a few days a really good first step. And that gave rise to another project and another expansion. And over time, that developed in a long-term relationship where we already for 9 years have people actually seconded from Manifera into our company.
Yeah. So it was perfect timing, and then trust grew, and still working together.
Exactly, and for us that's really important. We are really in there for the long game, and build trusting relationships is really important for us. So once we saw, hey, there's potential here, yeah, you invest in that relationship, but over time that strengthens, and that's really important.
Yeah, beautiful. And how did the onboarding or the start of the first project went?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, it started off really small, and I think that's really important, because if you start a new relationship, it's good to test out the waters, know who the others are, but then really also commit to invest in it. And I think that's where we saw the following up projects were really like, okay, we now know what you're capable of, and that we can expand here, and that was really beneficial, I think, for both.
Yeah. And with who within Manifera you normally communicate?
So we, on a daily basis, communicate with the team over there, because what we have is part of our development team is here in the Netherlands, and part of our development team is at Manifera. So we have daily conversations, from the Scrum rhythm, but yeah, almost constantly there's a Teams channel open to discuss progress or ask questions. And next to that rhythm with the team, we also have a bi-monthly or monthly meeting with Herre to discuss more long-term implications.
And how do you feel about the communication? How that's going?
I think that's going really well. Of course, there's always some challenge when you work with remote team, but we are very, let's say, used to the fact that because we were founded in 2020, just like a month before Corona started. So what we remote working is in let's say the core of our company and in the culture. We're very used to that, and since Manifera is working within the Teams environment that we have, and we work in the software stack together, so it really feels very natural to be communicating all day. And when I say all day, that's of course only in the morning hours for Europe, because in Vietnam the time difference results that they work very early morning in Europe, and then they stop around noon, which is also really good dynamics.
Yeah. Okay. So the communication is definitely an advantage. Are there other advantage with working with Manifera?
Yes, what is one of the benefits from working with an organization where they have a larger team at that location is that if one of our developers doesn't know the answer to some question or a challenge that they have never met before, they can ask around and see how others, if the others have a solution. And that's of course a benefit if they're not just two, but it's a whole team over there. They can leverage each other's knowledge.
Yeah, everyone can give input and
Indeed. Yeah.
And are there also things that can be improved?
Well, of course, there's always something, and as I said, there will always be a little bit of miscommunication when you're working remote. So we try to keep that up a lot. What is, I think, one of the bigger challenges that we're gonna have, not just us but all software companies, will be how to really utilize artificial intelligence in a really good way. What we already do is that all of our developers, also the team in Vietnam, is using AI in a code assistant way. But I foresee that we also should use it more and more in the, let's say, the ideate phase and the translation from an idea to software requirements, and that's something that we need to work together with them on to make sure that we take that step.
Yeah, AI is very important, and to move faster and faster every time.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, with the right quality, of course. Yeah. Have you considered also other software development companies?
I wasn't there, but early on, I know that Mark had a conversation with others when he was still in Singapore. But as I said, when we did the first small project, and that worked out really well, and the subsequent projects as well, we're in there for the long game. So we really want to build a trustworthy relationship with the team members over there, with Herre. So this is already for 9 years, and hopefully much longer.
Yeah, and I understood that working with Manifera was also a strategic choice, right?
Indeed. So and that's actually when we founded the company, we were already thinking we're going to be a global software provider, cyber intelligence provider, and as we call follow the sun is a nice principle. If you need to be 24/7 operational, it's ideal if you have somebody in there, let's say, working hours all the time. One of the benefits that we have, one of the strategic considerations that we have, is that Vietnam has a great demographic outlook. A lot of young people there, a lot of people that are getting graduated. So there's a potential for a great source of new developers there. Together with their great work ethic, it's a really nice combination to have part of your team in Vietnam. So that was part of our consideration to go with Manifera. Southeast Asia is also a focus area for us for some of our end users. So it also combines nicely if we go in that area, that we can also visit the Vietnam office of Manifera, because sometimes it's just really good to sit together and be there. Mark went there in January. I actually haven't been there before, so I'm definitely going to go in the near future to visit the team there.
Yeah, great outlook to go there.
For sure.
Yeah, and so it was not an accident to work together, but really, focus on the future. Yeah, is it worth the investment?
If it wasn't, we would have already stopped. But it is good to realize that this is, if you're going in for the long term, it's an investment. You invest in your relationship. We invest in knowledge building with the team there. We want to be there for the long term.
Yeah, clear. What would you say to others about the services of Manifera?
Well, as you hear, I think there can be great benefits for outsourcing and using Manifera in that process, but it needs to align with your strategic objectives. So don't consider it as a, let's say, silver bullet for any outsourcing or offshoring of some of your capabilities. It should really fit within your strategic alignment of, does it make sense to have part of your team in other places in the world? Because there is some overhead, but there's also some communication, extra communication difference if you're not sitting next to each other. But if it fits your culture and it fits your strategic objective, I think there's a lot of benefits of working remote.
Okay. Do you have any tips for companies who are thinking about working remote or maybe have doubts?
Yes, so I think, as I said, for us it was already kind of born in the culture already early on. But if it's new and if you need to kind of get used to that, don't underestimate how important it is to, at the beginning, I would say, almost over communicate. It's almost not possible to communicate enough about the vision of your company, your view of your end users, and what should be the experience of your customers with the product. Because if you forget to do that in the beginning and just fire like I need this feature, and every time it kind of you have that misalignment because you haven't paid attention in the beginning of setting the stage very well. That's gonna cost you extra time at the end. So it's good to really make that investment, share about your vision, share about how you look at your customers, what is important for you. That speed is important, but quality is the essence of, for us, for example, is really important. And being open about that is really important.
Yeah. Yeah, so really embed the Vietnam team or the remote team in your own team.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clear. Well, thank you, Eljo, for this interview.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And thank you for watching. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the podcast about how a strong partnership with Manifera helped amplify the impact of CFLW cyber strategies. See you next time.